it's tough on a young kid, I think, more than it is as a seasoned veteran. As he grows into the sport and plays for 6 or 8 years, and he can adjust to injuries and the trauma of that because he's matured a lot. When you come out of college, and you're really basically still immature, you get your. It's lightning going from high school football to college football to pro football. There's a big jump at each of those levels, and each time you make that initial jump, you're starstruck, so to speak, and you're in awe of the situation. It takes a while to readjust to that. And any time anything doesn't flow smoothly, as Bob Trumpy and I were speaking a little bit earlier here tonight, I won't say that Bob and I had dinner tonight. Some people run into that, a little trouble with that, having dinner with a coach. I had trouble. I had dinner with Sam Weiss last night, but no. Anytime you get into a situation like that, Elway's a good example of that. If John Elway in Denver, probably one of the best, quote, talents to come along in a long time, at least since I've come along. But no, not really. But he's in that situation too, Jenny. He gets into that thing where if he has a problem, they were on him last year. They hounded him to death, hounded him, and he had a tough time adjusting to that. And so that's an adjustment problem. So any little thing that out of the ordinary is an adjustment problem.
Okay, the injury in the Kansas City game, then you wrenched it again playing basketball during the off-season.
Well, I was
Two
hurt.
surgeries, I believe, ensued. Right. You were playing hurt after the Kansas City game.
Really, I played hurt the rest of the season my rookie year. And that's really kind of unfair. Probably something should have been done with it then, but, at the time and the place and
You're
situation.
invincible.
Yeah, I was invincible, right. And that's what people, had a tendency to believe, especially a second-year expansion club, a brand-new club, and they've got a new quarterback who is supposed to take them out of the wilderness, so to speak. And that's really a problem. That's, I think, get one for the Gipper gets carried away with the whole situation.
I have always said that had Greg Cook stayed healthy, the Bengals would have been in the Super Bowl long before they were in 1981.
Without buying tickets, you mean?
Without buying tickets,
I
yes.
see.
Playing,
right.
contesting.
Right, I see. Okay. Maybe, I don't know, but there's a lot of other things that have happened along the way. I mean, one team's destiny is not based on a player or a specific individual. I think it's based on a conglomeration of players. And if you go back over the Bengals' history, from 69 through 1976 through 77, in that era, their first-round draft choices, playing and keepers, throwaway and keepers, has not been a real good situation. If you look at the likes of people like Mike Reed, obviously Mike Reed was an all-pro player. But he only played for 5 or 6 years, if I remember right. Maybe 5 years. Steve Lawson, a first-round draft choice out of Kansas, a guard, didn't really develop and contribute that much. There were Sherman Whites, who was traded away to Buffalo. There were other first-round draft choices that just didn't really develop and contribute for the first 6 or 8 years of the Bengals organization. And I think that's a devastating thing because I think all coaches, all people connected with, affiliated with an organization, professional athletics, has to get use out of their, quote, blue chippers. And a blue chipper is a person who comes in and contributes and plays for a predetermined amount of years. 4 years if it's college. They got blue chippers out of high school, and or a first-round draft choice into the professional ranks, which has to contribute for between a good 6 and 9 years as playing. Whether he doesn't start the first year or the second year, but he comes in and then plays for 6, 8, or 9 years after that.
Greg Cook is our guest. We invite you to join in our cross-examination, so to speak, here at 749-3420. We'll bring you the 800 toll-free numbers coming up here shortly. Greg, the premise of this show is, what are they doing now? What are you doing now? I know you left Du Bois Chemical and you've branched out onto your own line of work.
Right. I was with Du Bois for about 9 years and sold industrial cleaners and chemicals. It's a little bit different than playing professional football or anything, but when we grow up and come out of high school, we're not really set for anything in our life and go through college. And I would assume a great percentage of people who leave their education don't end up doing what they were educated for. And I spent 8 or 9 good years with that company and learned a lot of things and made a lot of friends and associations. And then about 9 months ago, we started our own company where we're repping a line of chemicals and adhesives and quite a few other things, equipment.
Name of the company?
Basically the same type of things, production, maintenance, and supply. And it's a chemical company, but we're located in Hamilton, Ohio.
Well, I tell you what, you look sensational. You don't appear to have put on an ounce since I first walked on a UC campus as a freshman in 1969, or is it, 68, 69. I walked down the stadium. I was a football manager,
Right.
you know, and I saw this blonde-haired stud out there
Right.
throwing a football. I couldn't believe it. How far could you throw a football? I remember you winging one at least 70 yards to me.
Oh, I don't know. That's a kind of an arbitrary thing. I don't know whether I threw it a long way at one time.
It had snow on it when I came.
You see, I called the traffic pattern down Cincinnati Airport. But yeah, Denny and I, we go way back, right to almost to the beginning, and I enjoyed my affiliation with Denny. And he's really come a long way. He's got a long way to go, but he's really doing well.
Well, we have to think back to your early days at UC, and the rap on you was that this guy throws too hard. Then an offensive coordinator by the name of Lehman Bennett, who went on to coach coaching distinction in the NFL, apparently said, hey, take a little bit off of it. You don't have to plant it in the guy's chest,
Right.
and it clicked.
Well, I think that's the thing you have to learn, too. Of course, Lehman came in with Homer Rice my junior year and had them for 2 years. And, of course, Lehman was a pretty offensive-oriented, and he got together with me and worked a whole summer. We worked it out where I learned to, quote, touch the ball to a person, not try to kill him with it.
You indeed touched it. You touched it so well in your distinguished career. Greg Cook is our guest. Make sure to join us at 749-3420. At 7:15, we'll be back in just a moment.
This is Andy McWilliams, voice of the Xavier Musketeers and sports director here at 700 WLW. Nothing was more exciting in Cincinnati than last year's NIT games at the Gardens when XU defeated Ohio State and Nebraska. This year's Musketeer team should again be a strong contender for postseason honors. Crate seats are available and $55 buys you a ticket for all 14 home games. Watch for Sunday's ad in the Enquirer or call the Xavier ticket office at 745-3411. Be courtside when Xavier basketball tips off November 20th.
The people at Key GMC Truck Sales would like to thank their many customers, old and new. A lot of you are taking advantage of their many sales and service specials, and why not? Key GMC Truck Sales at Freeman and Guest Streets in Cincinnati is the Tri-State's largest truck dealership and one of the largest in the nation. Besides being a full-line GMC truck franchise for over 26 years, Key carries prestigious and dependable lines such as Peterbilt, Mercedes-Benz, and Dorsey trailers. In fact, Key Truck Sales is one of the top 5 dealers nationwide for each of these manufacturers. And Key Truck Sales continue to be the only truck dealer in this area with 24-hour service so that critical downtime is minimized. Their parts department has revised their pricing policy in all areas, giving you the most competitive price on an everyday basis. Key offers a special delivery service, and they're the only truck dealer in the Tri-State with their own body shop. So, add it up. Sales, service, parts. Key Truck Sales has what you need. Do yourself a favor. Call or stop by for any of your truck needs. Key Truck Sales, Freeman and Guest Streets in Cincinnati.
Piedmont Airlines announces more good news for the family budget. We're extending our family fares through March 31st, 1985. So when you fly full fare, say on your next business trip, your spouse and kids can fly along with you for just $39 each way to most Piedmont cities. Just $69 to Piedmont cities in Colorado and Texas. Why, you can even take advantage of our family fares on certain days during the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. Call your travel agent or call Piedmont for all the details. Piedmont Family Fares. We've taken a lot off our prices, so you and your family can just take off.
Come and fly to Piedmont Country. Make it a Piedmont. Come and fly to Piedmont Country. Make it a Piedmont day.
Lines are now available for Sportstalk. If you're calling from outside Ohio, dial 1-800-543-0471. From Ohio, 1-800-582-1701. And from the greater Cincinnati area, dial 749-3420.
Good evening, everyone. Dennis Janson, AWOL from Channel 9 Sports tonight. I've been joined by Greg Cook, former NFL quarterback, NCAA record holder, on our Where Are They Now segment, hour 2 of the Bob Trumpy Sports Talk tonight. Greg, years ago, in fact, I still tell this story. Years ago, you told me a story about when you threw the ball as hard as you could, and you told me a little story about when you were at Chillicothe High School about a flanker named Spider.
Yeah, we called him Spider. That's about it. He was like a little water bug, could fly, but there wasn't much. If the wind came up, they had to check the westerly wind before the game. If it was over 5 miles an hour, they had to bench him. He'd go out for a pass, and the wind would catch him, and he'd fly up into the stands. He was the forerunner of the ultralight aircraft, actually. And he went downfield once on a pattern about 30 yards and crossed, and I wound up and just nailed it and hit him in the shoulder pads, and it broke the shoulder pads in the front and about tore his helmet off. And he got up, and his eyes were as big as silver dollars. He looked up, and there were some birds flying over the stadium, and he thought the Almighty Maker had called him. He said, "Don't ever throw it like that at me again." He said, "Just pick out another receiver." He said, "I don't want to be part of that."
Incredible. Greg Cook, you look sensational, as I say, but in fact, you look like you could step out there tomorrow.
For one play.
No. You look great. You think back, do you ever feel cheated?
Well, I think there's times you do that, sure. I'm sure that there's a psychological analysis on me. I would feel terribly cheated. Put me on the couch, and I'd fall apart. My arm and leg would fall off. My shoe, my eyelash would go to the ceiling. But I'm sure that I have problems that way somewhere about wishing that I could have played longer. And I think that goes back to what I said earlier. Young kids coming in, that readjustment or that adjustment from college football, no matter how good they were in college football, you're stepping up another level into professional athletics, whatever it might be. And there's an adjustment period. There are very few that can walk into that scheme of things and really, really do the things that they potentially will do or are capable of doing. And I think that's the thing when a young kid gets not cheated but has an injury or there's other problems in his life that get in the way of what his performance or potential can be. That's the real dilemma.
We've spoken over the years about your son Brandy, who is a freshman at Bowling Green University, and the fact that he participated in athletics, but he just didn't seem to have that fire, in marked contrast to you, who had the heart of a lion as far as I was concerned.
Well, I think, like being from Chillicothe, Ohio, I think there's a distinct advantage in that, even today, as opposed, in comparison with, let's say, the middle 60s when I came out of there. And you've seen it. I think everybody that listens tonight will probably attest to that. There are facets of kids today still that have that hunger and that desire. But today there are so many more things for kids to do. I mean, it's awesome when you look. The TV is a commanding factor in a person's life today, whether it be a young child or an adult even. I think it almost is the robotic box of doom and destiny for human beings if they can sit in front of the TV all day long. And I think it's a terrible medium for people and young kids because there's so many other things they can do themselves they don't get a chance to do. And I think you're right, Danny. I think today the kids from Cincinnati have a harder time from the kids from Chillicothe or Circleville or Xenia, Ohio, or wherever, because they have fewer things to do there, so they concentrate on the things that they do have to do, like athletics.
We also talked about how important it was for you not to force him, not to try to live out your career, extend your career, recreate your career vicariously through Brandy.
Right. I think there's no question about that. I think that's a factor that has to be viewed in everybody's situation, whether it be athletics or academics or music or acting or politics, whatever.
Football was not your only love, though. You are a very accomplished artist. I don't know how many people are aware of that. Are you still pursuing your career?
Sure, I do that too, but not as much as I would like to do it, or time-wise is the biggest factor there. Art is a full-time job, like my friend Mike Reed, who's a musician who was with the Bengal organization. He at one time just threw up his hands after about 5 years with the Bengal organization and said, "I have to do my music. I can't let it go any longer, because if it goes any longer, what God gave me will be taken away." And I think he's probably right. I think there's a point in time that you have to give up one for the other. He'd accomplished what he wanted to accomplish in athletics or in football, and so he went in the music direction, and he's been rewarded very handsomely.
I've always characterized Mike Reed as a musician who happened to play football on the side.
I don't think there's any question about that. I probably I think there's that factor in me. Unfortunately, there's other factors that have come into play with me that have somewhat overshadowed or really put my artistic capabilities or potential down, thumbed it down, and I'm going to have to break away from that eventually. Try to.
Well, with your dazzling personality, I would think that the sales field is well suited to you and you well suited to it.
Well, I think that that's true sometimes. I think I just haven't found the niche that I really want to do in the sales area, and I think that it's anytime you have something to sell, I think sincerity and honesty are the most important factors, and you know that. You convey that over the air. I think that's why you've been successful with several stations, and I think that's why you'll continue to be successful, because of that factor, that honesty factor.
This is our Friday Night Mutual Admiration Society at 7:25. Greg Cook is our special guest. My name is Dennis Janson from Channel 9 Sports. Away with leave, I should point out. Everyone knows exactly where I am. We're going to be continuing with Sports Talk Hour 2. Where are they now? Greg Cook is our guest. We'll be back in just a moment.
Unpredictable business conditions created an emergency cash crunch at Steinberg, Norwood's prestige clothing store. So Steinberg ordered drastic action to liquidate indebtedness to banks and creditors. Everything. Steinberg's entire stock, including America's most respected designers, Polo, Perry Ellis, Christian Dior, and Hickey Freeman, are now on sale at great sacrifice. The necessary cash must be raised. The public is invited to choose from hundreds of men's suits, values to $250, now a mere $79, $89, and $99. Sport coats, the most wanted wools, tweeds, and blazers, usually to $165, as low as $49. Slacks like Jamar Ruby, now as low as $14.90. Steinberg even reduces prices on men's all-weather coats and luxurious leathers to 50% off. Men's dress shirts, men's sweaters, and all famous label ladies wear to 68% off. Steinberg Clothing cannot repeat these unbelievable savings after this sale. So take advantage of Steinberg's inventory disposal to raise cash. Indebtedness must be wiped out by Steinberg Clothing, 4746 Montgomery Road, Norwood. Open daily 10 to 9, Saturday to 6, and Sunday 12 to 5.
Find your best deal at Bob Williams Ford.
You know, to an awful lot of people, when you talk about best deal in connection with an automobile, all they think about is price. And naturally, price is important, and Bob Williams Ford will match prices with anybody. But there are other things to consider. On a new car, the service after the sale. On a used car, the service the dealer puts into it before the sale. And at Bob Williams Ford, any car they put on their lot as A1 used car has been tested in their shop and tested on the road. Under the hood, the engine with all its components, the automatic transmission, cooling system, power steering, and brakes, battery, carburetor. On the road, they test the steering control, braking, shifting, pressures, temperatures, ease of handling, ease of ride. I tell you, at Bob Williams Ford, when they mark a car A1, you know you're getting the best value your money can buy. Prove it to yourself. Come on in. Bob Williams Ford, Montgomery Road at Cross County, 1 minute from I-71.
On November 6th, before you go to vote, go somewhere else first, the supermarket. Go up and down the aisles and try to figure what prices would be if inflation had not been brought under control. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you'd have to add 26 cents to the price of a loaf of bread if the Carter Mondale inflation had continued. Add 34 cents to a half gallon of milk, $1.28 to a pound of bacon if the Carter Mondale inflation had continued to rage. This painful grocery list goes on and on. Add more than $1 to a can of tuna, almost $1 to a half gallon of ice cream. Now, if this doesn't convince you to vote for President Reagan, well, stop off at the gas station and imagine handing over $2.27 for each and every gallon of gas you buy. Vote for President Reagan. He's brought inflation down and is keeping it down.
Paid for by Reagan Bush, 84.
Are you a finalist in a $1 million giveaway yet? Well, Angela Keith of Cincinnati is, and here's how she felt.
I was just like in shock. You know, just hearing it on the radio.
Angela also had this to say.
You know, I didn't even like this radio station. You know, I never listened to it. And then my mom told me, well, they're giving $1 million away. And I thought, well, I'll listen. And now I'm hooked on it. I can't get away from it. I've been sitting here, you know, without watching TV, just sitting here listening to the radio. And I've never done that before.
If you're registered, keep listening for your name and call us back and you'll be in the final drawing. $1 million, and you could win it. Names are announced 7 days a week on 700 WLW.
7:29 on a Friday night. Where are they now? Segment of Sports Talk on a Friday night. Greg Cook is our special guest. Let's go to the phone lines. You're on with Greg Cook.
Dennis.
Yes.
Preston Taylor from Wyoming.
Yes, sir. How are you this evening?
Good. Sorry you switched channels, but...
well, man's got to do what he's got to do, as the Duke
That's right.
said.
Same as Greg. Question for Greg.
Mm-hmm.
If he were to coach, would he go with the Bengals?
If I were to coach, who's this, Preston?
Yeah.
Preston, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I know Preston. I'm glad you called in when I told you. You're about 5 minutes early. I'll get that money to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. No, I don't know. I'm not qualified to coach.
Why?
Well, I don't know enough about it. I've been out of the game. You know, it changes. It's like going into law or being in medicine. You know.
Sam.
Go ahead. Well, Sam's had a tremendous amount of experience. He spent all these past years out in San Francisco with Bill Walsh, who probably is one of the premier offensive
Yeah, and
minds.
there's another question.
Okay.
How come? How come all the good guys are gone? And not saying Sam's bad.
Well, no, I understand that. Well, but the thing about it is, if you look at every situation, you look at every team in the NFL or in colleges, that's the same thing that existed everywhere. Everybody, well, why don't we have that? You know, the grass is always greener concept. Why don't we have him back? Because, you know, he might go somewhere else and win because there's other factors. And, you know, Sam's going to do fine here. He'll do just fine if they leave him alone and give him some time. And that's all it boils down to.
Greg?
You.
If they will leave him alone.
Oh, I don't mean anybody in particular. I don't mean the organization. I don't mean the football organization down here. I just mean the whole philosophy here. And it's going to take time. And once he gets his program together, he's going to be in good shape, really.
Thank you very much, Preston. We appreciate your call. You're talking with Greg Cook on Sports Talk. Hello? Hello?
What's up?
Kentucky.
Could you repeat your question, sir? I'm sorry.
I didn't ask a question.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Did you have a statement?
I said I'm Bill Coben from Edgewood, Kentucky.
Nice to meet with you, Bill.
Yeah, and if ever you had a fan, Greg, I'm it. Now, Dennis has covered a lot of the ground. You know, I thought the same thing that he thought. If you had stayed with the Bengals, they would have been in the Super Bowl. I had every confidence. I have never, ever seen a quarterback as good as you.
Well, I appreciate it,
I grew
Bill.
up
Thank
with
you.
Sid Luckman and Sammy Baugh and those guys when I was in high school, and when I came out.
It's pretty fast company.
I was always a pro football fan, and I was very interested in your development at UC. And when you came up to the Bengals, you went to the All-Star game, and you darn near beat Namath and the Jets when they put you in the fourth quarter. Is that right?
Right. That's right.
Reserves. And then I went up to Bowling Green. Now I think that was the first game you got into the
Patriot game?
preseason.
Right, we played the Patriots.
Right, he played Boston, and Coslet went down the sideline, and you winged one to him, and he was going full tilt, and it just went off his fingertips. And I said, when those guys get that timing down, it's going to be sensational. And it was.
Well, thank you.
I was sitting right in the fifth row in Nippert Stadium behind the Bengals bench when they nailed you in the Kansas City game.
Right.
And my heart just bled when I saw you going up the ramp to the locker room.
Right. Yeah, mine did too.
Well, it could have been worse. You know, something else could have been bleeding.
That's right.
But you know, we saw Namath in his prime, and he didn't compare. You were the greatest thing I have ever seen on a football field.
Well, thank you very much, Bill.
Oh, I've got a big poster of you hanging on the fireplace. And
oh, now come on.
One of your watercolors sitting there on the fireplace.
Oh, okay.
Channel 9 came out and did an interview with me last week, and they put it on their sports spot, and there's all your stuff right there. I've got it. I've got that picture hanging on my den wall. The watercolor of Curly Culp and you throwing the ball.
Right, right. We did a series of those.
And I'm glad to hear Brandon's doing all right.
Thank you very much. Yeah, he's
glad
doing
to hear
real well.
you're doing all right. I just wish you were down there with number 12 on again.
Well, thanks a lot, Bill.
Great. Thanks again. We appreciate your call, Bill. Have a good night. You're on the air with Greg Cook.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
How you doing? Who is this?
This is Kurt Terrell from Dayton, Ohio.
Hi, Kurt. I was born in Dayton.
I met you at your grandparents' house.
That's right. I was born up there. That's right. Over on next to Siebenthaler there.
Sandhurst.
Right. Right.
Well, I was
Yeah.
delivering papers to your grandparents, and I was told you were there, and I got your autograph, and it was a real thrill for me.
Well, that's been a year and a half ago or more, isn't it?
Not quite.
God, I know.
I wish it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot of water over the bridge.
Yeah, a lot. But it was really a thrill meeting you, and we wish you were still playing, and your career could have been longer and all that. But my gosh, that day I'll never forget. Coming up, and you were there. You were recuperating. You had your arm in a sling and everything.
Seems like that's what all
If
that
you
was
could
in
find your name
general
or not.
condition quite a while for the first year.
Yeah, quite a while.
Right.
But like I say, it was really something meeting you, and it was a real thrill, and we wish you were still there.
Well, thanks a lot, Kurt.
Okay, can I back up just a little bit here?
Sure, go ahead.
Trumpy Show, I'd like to really wish Ken Amlin and Chaminade Julianne good luck playing football in their game.
As do we. Thank you very much for calling.
Okay,
Have a
good
good
night.
night. Greg, were you Rookie of the Year?
Yes, and I was the offensive, and Berge was the defensive Rookie of the Year. So we had two on one team, and I think that's kind of unusual. I don't know, Denny, do they still do that? Do they pick an offensive and a defensive Rookie of the Year? I think they do.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. Let's move on to the phones. You're on Sports Talk with Greg Cook.
Dennis, Greg, how you boys doing tonight?
Fine, yourself?
Oh, fairly good.
Good.
Question for a comment for Greg. Greg, I think I'm a little too young to remember you playing.
Oh,
But
really?
that don't mean nothing.
Okay.
Question for you, Greg.
Sure.
How many years before Boomer Esiason takes over for Kenny Anderson, and how good do you think Boomer will be in the pros?
You got a guy that's got a tremendous amount of raw talent. Here's a guy that moves very, very well. In fact, if you remember back years ago when Kenny first came in, he moved very well too. But
Yes,
Kenny's
he did.
been in the league for a long time. He's gotten a lot of knocks, a lot of back doors when people have hit him from the back door, and that takes its toll. And Kenny moves a lot. There's an old story about when you know where to go when you don't know where to go when you're young, but you can get there. When you get older, you know how to get there, but you can't get there. Your age has crept up on you. So really, I think Esiason's got a tremendous amount of raw talent. But there's been a lot of people that have come in the league, no matter what sport it is, specifically football, because I know about that have had a tremendous amount of raw talent that could do a lot of things physically. But there's intangibles. There's things that you just can't measure. And what you have to do is let the water settle down and everything come to the surface, and then you can pick out the things that I really haven't seen him enough or consistently enough to see where he's weak and strong in the areas. But I think he is very, very strong in the physical areas, and that's an important part. But the mental areas are going to be a little longer determining.
Okay. And when Collinsworth leaves the Bengals and jumps to the other league, do you think that will take a lot away from the Bengals, or what's your feelings on that?
Well, I think there's no question. I think Collinsworth's a great wide receiver.
Yes, true.
I don't think there's any argument to that. And I don't think anybody would sit. If anybody argues at that point, I don't think they really have much of a leg to stand on, because I think if you know the game or know just pure athletics, being able to watch a man out on the field, you can tell that he does his job and does it extremely well. And yes, I don't think there's any question. If he leaves, it's going to put a lot of pressure on other areas of the team unless they can replace him. And you just don't replace a Collinsworth overnight.
No, he is one of the best ones around. I'll give him that. He is a good guy. He's one of my favorites.
Indeed he is. Thank you, caller. We're going to move on. 749-3420. We have lines available at 742. We're going to pause for just a moment. We'll be right back after these important messages.
It's happening right now. The grand opening celebration for the brand new Swallens Coleraine, exclusively featuring major appliances, office furniture, and a complete home entertainment department. And we've got savings for you in all our stores. You can get a Zenith 13-inch Custom Series color portable TV that has a 5-year picture tube warranty for only $209. Or how about a 19-inch Zenith color TV? This Zenith has a Chroma Sharp 90 picture tube for superb picture sharpness and detail, now only $278. Check out the all-new Zenith VHS video cassette recorders, the Smart Decks, the Zenith VCR with 4 heads for excellent video quality plus wireless remote control, just $438. Hey, don't miss our grand opening celebration for the all-new Swallens Coleraine, located in the Gold Circle Mall in Northgate. The values are gonna go fast, so you better hurry.
Anything you want, everything you need, you'll find it at Swallens.
The mentally retarded of Hamilton County need your continued support. Your yes vote on issue 1 will give them that support. A yes on issue 1 will continue the education and training of retarded children and adults to help them live full and productive lives. In short, your yes vote on issue 1 will help the mentally retarded to help themselves. Please continue your support. Vote yes on issue 1.
Please help me help myself.
Paid for by the Committee to Help the Mentally Retarded. Tom Westerfield, Chairman.
Cincinnati businesses know that you gotta stand out to get the business. Let's ask this man how he does it.
A little more. Yeah. Oh, now to the left. Okay, hold it.
Hey, that's quite a cannon you've got there. What's up?
Me, I hope. I've never done this before.
Come on now. What's the catch?
That net on top of the hardware store.
Boy, do you need the Cincinnati Bell Yellow Pages.
I'm yellow enough about this, thanks.
But you can draw the crowds you want with a display ad. And there's room for information, room for sell.
You want to give me a hand with this parachute?
And by advertising under different headings, you've got more chances of being seen. Plus, thousands of folks in Cincinnati shop it daily. People who are ready to buy. It's a great advertising value for your money.
Sort of more bang for your buck, eh? Little cannon humor there.
Seriously, you gotta try the Cincinnati Bell Yellow Pages and get rid of that thing.
Where am I going to find somebody of my caliber?
Call Reuben H. Donnelly today about the Cincinnati Bell Yellow Pages.
Sportstalk on 700 WLW with Greg Cook. Line 2, you've got him.
Greg, this is John Miller in Hyde Park calling.
Hi, John.
Before I ask a more serious question, maybe Dennis asked you a question at the beginning of the program, that an answer which I'd really be interested.
Okay.
That was his question about how far could you actually throw a football at your best?
I threw the ball about 96, 97 yards once.
Is that with, against, no wind, or what?
That was standing on the top of the stadium and throwing down. No, actually I threw it. It was pretty calm. It was over at Nipper Stadium, I think my freshman year, and it was at nighttime. I don't know, maybe the air was lighter. I'm not sure. But
I remember people talking about certain old quarterbacks in times past that could throw it 100 yards, and I literally didn't think it was possible. So I'm glad you're good.
I tell you what, I'm not so sure that it becomes a thing of physics. At one point, the ball becomes so light after so much. It's like anything else. It's like a bullet. I mean, a bullet has to, the heavier the object,
right,
with the more velocity, the power behind it, the further it can travel. That's basically the same thing happens with a football. Actually, if you can throw a tight spiral like Bradshaw used to be able to throw the ball, a tighter spiral will make the ball lighter, or it'll travel further because it's lifting itself. But I don't know. I'm not a great physicist, but that's the theory behind that. And after a certain point in time or distance, the ball will just have a tendency to start to float and fall down, and that's what happens.
As an old punter, I'm sure I understand that, because if you get the spiral going and it turns over right, it goes just like a discus practically.
Exactly.
The real question I wanted to ask you is, you hear a lot of commentation about great quarterbacks, and they refer to part of their ability having to do with a quick release.
Right.
I wonder if sometimes I think that's more talk after the fact of their great success than I really think that there's anything measurable about that statement.
Well,
what's your opinion about the
reality
reality of a quick release?
I think it's important. I tell you why. You look at some of the quarterbacks, you've always heard that athletics, they say they're games of inches. And that means time, quickness. The time the ball was thrown to a receiver and it was batted down, or it just got in there. I think Esiason threw one a couple weeks ago on a touchdown pass where he threw it three people, and it got into I forget who the wide receiver was at that time. And if you have a quick release, is really the ability to release the ball from the time that you know where you're going to throw the ball and let it go. If you reload and wind up, or reloading the ball, taking a double pump or a double load on it, or you wind up and have to release the ball on a real wind-up. You just watch these quarterbacks. I tell you the best example I can give you for a great quarterback and would be in direct line with like a great catcher. A guy like Bench. When Bench used to catch the ball, when he would throw a man out at second base, he didn't have to wind up and take a big step to get the man at second base. He threw the ball right from his ear and released it as quickly as you could get it off. Really, I think Bench has probably released the ball as quick as I ever saw anybody release the ball from behind the plate. Elway has got a great release, a quick release. The kid down at Miami now, Marino has got a very, very quick release. Now, here's the physics aspect again. Marino's taller than Elway. He's got a longer arm. He has a tendency it takes him a little longer to get his arm unwound, if you know what I mean. Okay, and that's the same thing that happens with a lot of quarterbacks. Bradshaw had a tremendously quick release. If you remember, he threw the ball right from his ear and his elbow up, and that's like a catcher's release. And that's what Elway has, and the great quarterbacks will do it. And I think it doesn't mean that there are great quarterbacks that don't wind up. Don't get me wrong. There's one doesn't just follow the other, if you know what I mean. I mean, there's quarterbacks that can wind up and have to because they don't have the great arms. Like Montana doesn't have a great arm. Theismann doesn't have a great arm. I tell you who probably the quickest releases is Faust at San Diego. He gets rid of the ball as quickly, probably, as anyone does, and has for a consistent amount of years. Yes, it is a factor. A quick release is a tremendously important factor, but more importantly than quick release is knowing where you're going to throw the ball when you get ready to release it.
Very good. Thank you, caller. We appreciate you joining us on Where Are They Now tonight. If you are registered in the $1 Million giveaway, listen closely, because if I announce your name, you will have 10 minutes. That is until 7:55. You'll have 10 minutes to call 700-WLW and become a finalist in the grand prize drawing. If you are Roger Neal of Westchester, Ohio, you are eligible to call us at this time. That's Roger Neal of Westchester, Ohio. If that is your name, call 700-WLW at 749-3700, 749-3700 within 10 minutes, and you'll be in the grand prize drawing to win 1 million simoleons. If that is not your name, keep listening, as more names will be announced soon on 700-WLW. Greg, I remember when you used to drop back and sit up, you used to make a little sound with your mouth. You'd go that seemed to be keeping rhythm with your feet. You remember that?
Yeah, right. That was a definite a contrivance that we used to try to get a time. It uses like a metronome type philosophy, and you could count steps that way. And I tried to get my steps in coordination with the sounds I was making when I was going back.
So that was predetermined by Coach Jim Kelly, presumably, with the offense, and Lehman Bennett.
Lehman Bennett at that point, because we used to throw what we called a stick system over there, where the quarterback took 3, 5, or 7-step drops. And the Bengals do that, and Bill Walsh came in and did that after Lehman Bennett had taught it to me. Having come from UC using that stick system, it was a lot easier for me to adjust to that system with Bill Walsh, because it was basically the same type system. So every play that we had, a pass pattern, and they still do it, was either 3, 5, or 7-step drop. And when you hit and dropped on that step, that last foot hit either at the 3rd step or the 5th step or the 7th step, you were ready to throw the ball. And it was like a timing pass. And the receivers were on that timing pass also.
And you used to put a little double duty. You held for extra points and placements for Jim O'Brien.
Right. And that's probably not of course, a lot of quarterbacks are doing it today. And I think really the reason the quarterbacks do hold or a good defensive back is because they've got good hands. They're used to handling the ball during the whole game, and a quarterback handles the ball during the whole game. And a wide receiver, I think, Kreider does that now, and of course he's got very, very good hands. So they're used to him. I mean, you're not going to put a tackle back there. It's like, it's like putting a watermelon down for him. But, it's easier for a wide receiver or quarterback who's familiar with the feel of the ball to get it down.
One of the most memorable college games I've ever seen, Miami UC game 1968. Jim O'Brien, of course, capped it off with a 47-yard field goal. But that was one of the most sensational comebacks I've ever seen. I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with that game. What were you down, 20-7 or something?
I'm not sure. I think we were down almost 21-0 going into the 4th quarter or the middle of the 3rd quarter, and we came back and won the game. It was
Bob
memorable.
Babbage chased you all afternoon.
All afternoon. And Bo Schembechler was the coach of Miami at that time too, and it was nice beating Miami. Of course, there are a lot of Miami graduates in the area, but it was such a traditional game, just a traditional game for UC in Miami, that's what it was nice for me at that point in time.
Greg Cook is our guest on Where Are They Now? We have about 12 minutes left in the program. Please join us after these messages.
On the move to a new home, make a checklist. People to notify. Organizations, credit card companies, utilities, post office, Social Security, last-minute purchases. personal belongings you will take yourself, and things to do once you get there. This reminder from your Dobson the Mover. Your Dobson representative has other tips for you, backed by a great expert moving team. Dobson the Mover. He makes it safe and easy. He's in the yellow pages.
In Greater Cincinnati, call 489-5600 or toll free 800-354-9715.
It's Jack's Camera Center Anniversary Sale with never-before anniversary specials that let you do the celebrating, featuring the absolutely best store-wide value since Jack's founded in 1946. Save like never before on famous name cameras, Canon, Pentax, Minolta, and more. Save on tripods, accessories, gadget bags, and just listen to this. Satex Ultranar macro zoom lens for only $79.38. Now this is a regular $149.95 value. This precise camera accessory fits most modern cameras and has a range from 80 to 200 millimeters. And from Jack's, the Zoom Lens King of Cincinnati, it's only $79.38. That's while they last. That's Jack's lowest price ever on the Satex Zoom Lens. Hurry in, browse around, help yourself to the store-wide 38th anniversary specials. 38 and going great. Jack's Camera Center, 4th and Walnut downtown, where you deal with Jack's and shoot like the pros.
This bud's for you. There's no one else who does it quite the way you do. So here's to you. For all you do, the king of beers is coming through.
Yeah, when the workday is finally behind you, chances are the toughest job you want is pouring yourself an ice-cold Budweiser. You know that clean, crisp taste is no accident. It comes from the choicest ingredients, exclusive beechwood aging, and a way of brewing that goes back over 100 years. So sit back, raise your glass to the king of beers, Budweiser, yay!
For all you do,
Yeah, this Bud's for you. Anheuser-Busch.
750 or 10 of 8 if you prefer on 700 WLW. Where are they now? Greg Cook is our guest as we go to line 5. Hello, caller.
Hello, I'd like to speak to Greg.
You got him.
Listen, I've heard you and Mike Reed talk about a play the Bengals used to have in the playbook called the Green Fly. Could you explain it?
Oh, my God.
Uh-oh, what's this?
Hi, Mickey.
How are you?
Folks, this is a friend
of... you about the San Francisco game.
This is a friend of mine, and that play was, you drop back and you go out for a long one.
Aha.
And really, it worked once or twice, but it really
Not
never...
using it anymore then?
No, there wasn't much roots to that,
Aha.
so they had to drop it. They put it in a file cabinet.
Let me ask you about the San Francisco game.
Okay.
What do you think the Bengals are going to have to do to win the game, and do you think that Weich's knowledge, based on the San Francisco offense, is going to help the Bengals or hurt them?
Well, the first thing, I have to stand at the tunnel and shoot about 4 or 6 players as they come out, key players. No, I don't think that. I think Walsh is so intelligent and so football devious that he can counter anything that the Bengals can do. And basically, that's where you win. Obviously, you win games on football, Mickey, or in defense, Mickey. You know that.
Right.
But the offensive thing, when a person's on the offensive program, they know what they're going to do, and the defense has to stop them. And that's the advantage that Walsh has because he's going to do something each time that the Bengals can't do anything about. Folks, listen, and this is a friend of mine calling. Really, he's a very, very close friend, Mike Dennison. He's with the Cincinnati Symphony, and he said he was going to call in. I'm just glad because he was afraid nobody else would call. That's why he called.
Let me ask you one other quick one.
Okay.
A previous caller was talking about Dan Marino.
Right.
When he was at Pittsburgh, did you really think he was that strong a quarterback? And now that he's shown up being a good quarterback, do you think it's Shula or do you think he just matured?
No, I think that he. I will admit that I didn't think that he was going to pan out like he did. When I watched him at Pitt, he didn't show the courage that I thought it was going to take for him to make it. But he's really surprised me. But I think that he has, his aspect of playing right now is aided tremendously by Shula. I don't think there's any question that he's the quarterback he is, in part or in due to Shula. And I think most of the people listening will probably agree with that, based on what they heard from all the NFL commentators that commentate each Sunday and speak so highly of Shula. There's probably 3 or 4 coaches that they speak that highly of, and Shula is probably in the top 3 coaches in the game right now.
But obviously he had a lot of personalized attention from Don Shula. He was Shula's personal project.
Well, the thing he did, Mickey and Dennis, I think, and everybody out there listening, is Shula took a young quarterback, like I spoke about earlier, coming into a situation in opposition to what happened to Elway at Denver his first year. Elway's first year was a tragedy in comparison with Marino's, who came in and had a stellar rookie year. Shula did not put Marino in a bad position, like Walsh would not do. Walsh had this philosophy and theory: do not get the leader of the pack, your quarterback, who's supposed to be your leader and where everything revolves around. Don't put him in a bad position. Don't get him into a position that he doesn't. Don't make a runner out of him if he's not a runner. Like the Cagle kid that was a quarterback for Moore that went up to Notre Dame. They go up there and he goes into a system that they try to make him an option quarterback. The kid's 6'4", and he has trouble outrunning a glacier. Well, you don't put a kid that can't do that into a situation. He was a passer. That's the way Marino was. Elway was that, but they gave Elway too much offense at Denver the first year and didn't let him do what he could do.
That can screw up a person's confidence, can it?
Oh, Elway's confidence had to be shattered the first year. And in comparison with Marino's, whose confidence just had to go up about 12 notches on a scale of 1 to 10.
Mickey, we appreciate your call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you much.
See you later.
Have a good night. Bye-bye. You're on Sports Talk. Where are they now with Greg Cook?
Hi, Denny and Greg. I have a question concerning UC. The first is, how many schools recruited you, Greg, and why did you choose UC?
Well, when I came out of high school in '65, I was recruited football-wise by probably a dozen schools at that time. I had 4 head coaches in high school. Every year, from my freshman and my senior year, I had a brand new head coach. And I really honestly did not, and it's not making excuses for I was slow development. I was almost as big as I am now. I was about 6'4", about 195 pounds. About the size Cagle kid was from Moeller when he was coming out of school. But with 4 coaches, and you'll understand and appreciate this, anytime if you have a boss that comes in, you have a change of boss every year, it's a difficult proposition to try to acclimate yourself to his philosophies. And that's really what happens in athletics, especially a quarterback. One coach comes in one year and wants to throw the ball 150 yards on every play. The next coach comes in, he wants to run the ball, never throw the ball. So it was very difficult to get acclimated to any system. I was probably more productive as a basketball player in high school than I was a football player.
Do you ever go to UC games now?
Yes, I did. In fact, I was down last weekend. And the last 2 weekends when they played Miami, Florida, when they had the Kozar kid's a real good quarterback for the University of Miami, and I went down.
Let's see. Yes,
we're going to move on. We want to take one more call here before we have to say goodbye to Greg Cook and take a listen at Bill Ridenauer in the news. Caller, you're on the air with Greg Cook.
Hello, Danny.
Hello.
I think it's a great move by WLW putting you on the air.
Well, I appreciate that, Dad.
Greg?
Yes.
I didn't hear the first part of the show, but what are you doing now?
Well, I'm selling industrial cleaners and chemicals. I've been doing that for about 9 years here in Cincinnati.
Have you ever thought about getting in broadcasting of any sort? Or
well, that's what I tried to get him to invite me down here for. I thought somebody'd hear me. Hell, you got to do it to do it. So.
Well, you're talking to the right man in Danny Janson.
Oh yeah, I have all the connections.
There you go.
He's plugged into everywhere.
Hey.
Well, I would love to do that. I don't know whether I get a chance to do it. I've done it a couple times in the last couple of years, but.
I mean, just listening to you sound like you have a great voice for radio. I figured maybe you'd be doing play-by-play or something like that.
I've been pitching him on this idea for years, to be honest with you.
Well, play-by-play is really tough, but Denny would probably do a good job at that. My mind's not quick enough. It's, I could walk out and get hit by a car before I even saw it coming. That's how slow I think.
Oh, that's all I wanted to know.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for calling me, though.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you'll hear me one of these days.
Okay, I'll be listening.
Okay, thanks again. You're on the air with Greg Cook.
Hey, Greg,
Yes.
I got your brisket plate.
Oh, okay. Hi, Alex.
How you doing? I just calling to give you a hard time. I got to go eat dinner, though.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I'm at dinner, but I came out because I heard you on the car
Another
radio.
friend of mine, my budget's going to be really messed up this week. All my money's going out. I got to pay all these people off the call.
Huh?
I said, all my budget's going to be messed up this week. I got to pay all these people that I owe money to now that called in for me.
Yeah, Len said to say hello.
Hi, Lenny.
All right, call us when you get a chance.
All right.
Okay, thanks
Bye.
again. Good night. Perhaps we should mention as Greg Cook is a gourmet cook as well.
That could be argued in many circles.
Veritable Renaissance man. We're going to have to wrap it up here on 700 WLW on Hour 2 of Sports Talk. Where are they now? Our guest for the past hour, which has flown by so quickly, has been my old pal, Greg Cook, the Blonde Bomber out of Chillicothe, Ohio, then on to the UC Bearcats, and, of course, on to a very distinguished but certainly all too brief career with the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one thing. This saved me a long-distance phone call. I'm going to come home visit your mom tomorrow, so I'm coming up to Chillicothe. I just want to let you know. I know that will save me a long-distance call, about $2.10. So I'll see you tomorrow.
That's okay. Greg, now with Production Maintenance Supply of Cincinnati, Ohio. And this is Dennis Janson on 700 WLW. Stay tuned for Bill Ridenour with 700 WLW News. And then stay tuned after the news when we will go to the phones for sports trivia. Once again, our guest tonight has been Greg Cook. Greg, I appreciate you stopping by and sharing your insights and your experiences in the NFL, college, and in life with us tonight.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. It was a joy.
Good to see you. Stay tuned for Bill Ridenour and 700 WLW News.
Good evening, I'm Bill Ridenour, 700 WLW News. This is going to be a good night for a fire in the fireplace, a bottle of wine, and someone to snuggle up to. The mercury's going to drop to 25 degrees tonight. I'll check the complete radar forecast in a few minutes. Now, this doesn't sound good. We're saying that Iraq has rebuilt a substantial stockpile of nerve gas and other chemical weapons that Iraq had used in March in repelling a major Iranian assault. Iraq now has consistently denied using such weapons. Agencies that provide food for the needy say that the demand has increased by 20